We are live. All right, what's up, fellas?
What's going on, everybody?
What's happening?
All right, today, since we got a pretty big topic, and I don't want to run over on time, we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. Let's go ahead and just talk about what's going on in the world today. Let's talk about. Let me chop it up about Israel Palestine. Let's go ahead and get canceled before we even get started. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I'm with it.
Yep. Well, I'm gonna start off by saying I didn't know much about it, other than what they show you on TV. And I was supposed to be in Egypt today, and I ended up canceling the whole trip just because of all the stuff that was going on. So I did a little research about it just because I was like, okay, I'm gonna be in this area, so let me try to figure out what's really going on. But I'm still confused as hell. I understand you have the Gaza Strip with the Hamas, and then you have the West Bank, you have Israel. I'm still trying to figure out, I guess Palestine was is that where Gaza was at? Or where Gaza is, I guess? I don't know, the Palestinians.
So that whole region, Israel was Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
Like that entire strip of land was Palestine. I don't know, y'all want me to give y'all, how you said you don't know a lot, Oscar? What about you, Dave and Phil? Are y'all real versed on like the history of the situation?
I know like bits and pieces, but
I'm pretty
I don't know
versed.
how true it is, the stuff that I've seen over time or whatever. Like when I first saw it, I just thought it was like a religious war again. I'm like, oh, they fighting over the Holy Land. Because I know Jerusalem is somewhere in that area of town too. So I was like, oh, they fighting over the Holy Land. So I thought it was Jews fighting Muslims. But then when I actually started researching it, I was like, okay, I don't know anything about it. I'm like, it's not really Jews fighting Muslims like that. It's
just a bunch of idiots. That's all it is.
That's part of the tactic, I think, that keeps it from being a world addressed issue. I think I made a comment about the religious narrative allows people to disassociate themselves for what it really is. But, Shad, I'll divert to you, man. We'll start with.
All right, so
I guess
I don't know.
Yeah, like a little background on it.
Just being a Westerner, with the Western education that we have, even higher education, we really didn't get into what's really going on over there. So I'll just lead off with that. So I could be completely wrong about this, but as I don't like to be ignorant about, especially the current events that are going on. So I've been doing a lot of research, and my sources have been all over the place. But just growing up, I thought like you, it was just, they had Israel and you had Muslims, and the Muslims don't like the Jewish people, and they don't like Christians, and blah, 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 blah. So I just kind of chalked it up to that. But as I started delving into what basically world events, of course you had long time ago where you had Jerusalem being a place of Israel or whatever, and then skirmishes happen there. It gets taken over by different empires, the Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire. Then the Crusades happen, where Jerusalem changed hands between Muslim and Christians and the Ottomans, just all over the place. I mean, there was a movie, I think it was called The Kingdom, that kind of took place during that time, during the Crusades. But recently, you had in the 1800s a movement in England of Zionists, where they were Christians, and they were there's a passage, I don't know if it's in the Torah of the Bible. Correct me in the comments if you guys want to, but there's a passage basically stating that once God allowed the people of the Jewish people to have Israel, then that would bring on Armageddon. It would bring on end times. So you have people that were wishing for end times, saying, hey, we need to bring the people of Israel back to Israel, right? And so from what I understand, it wasn't even the Israelis' ideas, because according to their religion, God is the person that's supposed to give them the country. And so the Christians kind of put that into their head. And this was in the 1800s. And then in the 1900s is when the UK actually started taking over that land and basically giving it to the Jewish people. And after World War II, I believe, is when, after the Holocaust, the Jewish people were like, well, where do we go now? And UK was like, well, we have this land that you can have. And then the only problem was there were people that were already there, the Palestinians. And so they basically moved in, said, hey, this is going to be Israel. And then all the Muslim countries or the Arab countries around that area, of course, they took issue with it. And then there was a big war that was fought. And, the Israel-Egypt war, where they fought Egypt, Jordan, and Palestine. And with the help of the UK and with the help of the United States, they did beat those guys. And so that's kind of where I picked up at. Like, I just was like, hey, Muslims were fighting Christians and Jewish people. These guys are obviously the good guys. But was not taught to me is not only did they just kind of bogart their way in and take that land, but once they took that in, it turned into a Jewish ethno state. So if you're which they do have Muslim Israelis, right? They're people that live in Israel that are Muslim, but they're considered second-class citizens. You also have the Gaza Strip, which is the southwest portion of Israel. It's a strip of land. I don't know how many miles it is, but there's about roughly 2 million people that live there. They're Palestinians that are separate from Palestine. They're surrounded by Israel and they're surrounded by Egypt. In 2006, they voted in their own government, which the political party is Hamas. Hamas, even though they do terrorist acts, but they are a political party, just like Republicans, just like Democrats, just like the Nazi Party. Those are political parties, and it's a government.
Excellent point.
Right. And then of course you have Palestine, which is a separate. I mean, it's basically the same country with a different government up in the north, and according to UN sanctions, Israel is not supposed to be expanding into Palestine or expanding into Gaza, and they have been expanding into Palestine into what they call the Western Bank, which is that entire bank that they share with Palestine, and there is no Hamas in the Western Bank. And of course, you have Egypt that's below Gaza, and Egypt even controls that border, but they don't allow the Gazan people to immigrate down into Egypt. So they're kind of just trapped there in what's kind of known as a open air prison right now, because those people can't leave. They can't go into Israel and they can't go into Egypt, and they're just kind of just trapped. So that's just kind of the history behind it.
I have, what's funny is what brought me onto this is I kept hearing people say, man, y'all don't want to mess with them boys. And I never knew what that term meant. I don't know if y'all heard that before, but them boys.
Yeah.
And then okay. And then they started talking about the Zionists. And I'm like, what is a Zionist? Like, I ain't, not to sound crazy, but I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know that was they were referring to Jewish people when they say those terms.
So like, actually, a Zionist isn't just a Jewish person.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So you have Christian Zionists also. Mm-hmm. It's just basically a person that believes that Zion is the Holy Land, which is Israel, and they need to migrate to Israel. And once Israel, the Jewish people or the Israelites take over Israel, then it'll bring on the end times, and people can go to heaven and stuff like that.
Wow.
So
it's to me, it's okay. They believe in all this stuff. None of this stuff comes to a reality. It's like the same thing over and over and over again. You teach your kids some ignorance. They grow up, teach their children ignorance. You got millions of them teaching the same ignorance. Now you want to fight over each person's different types of ignorance. And it's crazy. We are animals. They living up to that definition. People who fighting over these belief systems, when they so-called God, whichever God this is, don't ever do anything. It's to the point where they just have to assume that God is doing something. Like the people who want to pray, and I guess the Islamic version of praying or whatever. It's like, for me to hear that in the news, they fighting. They the same people, just about, because they all live in that region, and they fighting over some belief system that ain't warranted by scientific facts. It's crazy. I just think it's crazy.
Well, are they fighting over their religion?
I don't
right
think
now?
they're
I don't
fighting.
even know.
That might have
It's
been.
That's always the basis
Well,
in that area.
I think maybe originally it was over religion. I don't think it's a religious thing. They
I still
might
think it is.
But yeah.
I still think some religions run deep to some people.
No,
they got a strong passion for that.
I get that. But fact of the matter is, how would you feel if someone walked through your front door right now and was like, half this house is mine? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
you could look at it like any country trying to invade another, like how Russia trying to invade Ukraine. But it's, the religious undertones never make it better, only make it worse.
I agree. But yes, I'm on your side. I think religion is bad, and some people do take solace in being able to have a imaginary friend and guide them through hard things. But right now, I think
when I was talking,
go ahead.
Hold on, Shaw. Let me say this. When I was talking to you earlier, was it the other day? I don't know if you caught what I said, but I said it's just gonna be a revolving door. It's a cycle. It's a systemic or cyclic, or however you pronounce that word. It's just gonna be a cycle over there. They're gonna constantly fight because of their belief systems or whatever. They want their belief systems to prevail over the others in that area. It's just gonna constantly happen. Just constantly. And the fact that it's all in their heads, people could always have a viewpoint on how they want to make their next step, because it can't be backed by any facts. For example, somebody could rewrite some portions of the Judaism Bible or the Quran or whatever. Now they got another set of rules that they want to live by. And it's all just people authoring these Bibles or these doctrines. And it's just going to be an endless cycle of people fighting over what they think is supposed to be the word of their God, which their God never shows any signs of his presence or actions or whatever, because it's all man-made, it's all made up. To me, not to try to sound like a downer on this topic, this is one of them topics where I'm like, it's no way to try to rationalize what they're doing. Both sides are doing the same shit. They want to believe in principles that are not really backed by logic for the most part.
I'll interject. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to interject there because, as I alluded to, this is one of those subjects that, in order to speak to with an educated opinion, it requires some education as to the history of the conflict. And in taking, that little time, I've seen videos as little as 2 minutes in their delivery, able to sum up the meat and potatoes of the conflict. When you look at it, and I liken it to gentrification, and we'll expound upon that, I'm sure later within the show. But overall, it's pretty much an ethnic cleansing land grab. If somebody went to the way that we see in our community now, you have some people who were given the backing of the world's militaries, the UN, to move into an area that had been occupied by another people for thousands of years or time immemorial. And this is, put religion aside. That, like I said, that's a hang up that people use to not care. When the fact is, there's a atrocity happening crimes against humanity happening that is just summed up as a religious.
Did he freeze up?
Yeah, he froze up a
Guys.
little. There he goes.
Oh, okay.
Say that again, Phil. You froze up a little bit.
So,
You froze up.
I was
Phil.
saying that. Oh, I was saying that the religious context that's put on the conflict is a guise to make it to where people who don't identify or associate themselves with, let's just say, religion, to not care about it. But really, what it is, it's a crime against humanity. It's an ethnic cleansing, and it's pretty much simple. It's gentrification with military involved, if you want to put it like that.
Can I ask you a question, Phil?
Yeah.
So who are they trying to clean out then? What group of people are they trying to clean?
The Palestinians.
Okay.
So the most recent history goes
it's
in
because of their
1948.
beliefs. Keep
In
going.
1948, the state of Israel was created by the UN that said, we have this land. So basically, to take it back to where Shah was talking about, the European, the British, wanted to omit the Ottomans from that particular territory because at that point in time, the Ottomans had ruled over these people. It was like colonialization for the Ottomans. The Ottomans were the colonists of this land, Palestine. The Palestinians set up an agreement with the Europeans or the Britons and said, "Hey, if you help us fight these Ottomans off, we'll give you the land, let you rule over yourselves, and it'll be good. We just don't want the Ottomans there." Of course, the Palestinians were like, "Yeah, we'll fight for our own freedom and liberation, whatever, right?" And when they fought and they won and they, got the Ottomans up out of there, of course, the Britons reneged. And when they reneged, in fact, there's a pact between these two. I can't remember their names, but they're two military officers.
The Ottomans are present day Turkey, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Present day Turkey. But they were an empire.
Right.
The Ottomans were in Egypt as well. So, Europeans and Palestinians band together, fought them, got them out of the area. Then the Europeans or Britons reneged on the deal and said, "No, we're going to be your new colonial master."
I'm having a podcast. Both of y'all go upstairs.
With the Palestinians rebelled against them. It was costing the Britons too much money. They decided, all right, we just out of there. There was a growing Zionist movement in Europe at the time, who based on the narrative that Shah gave, they believed that their homeland or the homeland of God's chosen people was Israel, and per the doctrine, when they return, that will bring about the coming of the Christ, the return of the messenger. So there's this group of people. We have to get into people and what we've been taught. What we consider to be Jews. When we think of Jewish people, we think of some curly haired, top hat wearing individuals, when in fact the original Jews were black people, the Judeans. And at that time, to be a Jew or a Judean was a heritage. At the time that, let's just say, for lack of a better word, white people became Jewish, that is, they took upon the beliefs, or they were they ascribe the beliefs of the original Judeans. Most like, it's not uncommon where you see another people kind of um, absorb another person's culture and then it becomes synonymous with their culture. That's pretty much what happened. That's where you have the Ashkenazi and the Sephardian Jews came. These are people who, out of the Caucasus Mountains, what we know as Ukraine now, these were individuals who, through their leadership, it was a king, I think it was like 1590 or something like that. Instead of there were three religions at that point, well, maybe more, but he made a choice to convert his kingdom to a Jewish kingdom as opposed to a Christian or a Muslim kingdom. And in that sense, a bunch of Western Europeans became Jews. So that's how so-called white people are considered Jewish, when in fact the original bloodline was that of black people. Fast forward back to the history. After 1948, the Israel state was created, even though it was in an area that is Palestine, always had been known as Palestine, Philistine, I believe, as well, in history. But they basically just said, hey, we know y'all all live here, but scoot over a little bit. We're going to let these so-called, these people who identify as Jews move in, and it'll be a two-state. You hear about the two-state.
Two-state solution.
It'll be a two-state, two-state solution. It'll be a two-state area. But they never set a limit as to what lands would be considered the Jews and the Palestinians. Meanwhile, this is all being this was laid in the lap of the UN when Britain decided that they didn't want to exert any more control over the area after they reneged on the deal with those Palestinians. So they shipped in millions upon millions. It started off slow first, but millions upon millions of Jews into this area, and slowly those Jews occupied not only areas, but in doing so, they ran through neighborhoods. You can go on YouTube right now and see how they'll, some of the tactics they'll use, basically. Be it they pull up to your neighborhood in buses, they threaten the inhabitants maybe 24 hours before and say, hey, if you're not out of here in 24 hours, we coming through and doing what have you. And when you leave, they pull up in buses with beds and furniture, and they move right into your house. And it happens just like that. And the sad part about it is there was one day in the conflict where they killed tens of thousands of Palestinians over the course of a day.
They call that the Nakba, right? Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. The atrocity or something.
Mm-hmm.
And killed all these Jews in one. I mean, killed all these Palestinians in one day. Moved into their. And the thing is, they are, and in the same day declared that they had a Jewish state, and was the majority of that area. And to look at that area now, the Palestinian area is pretty much segregated and enclosed pretty much in a livable prison, an outdoor prison.
Dude, I got a question, or one of y'all can answer this. Is the Palestinians Jewish or Muslim? What's their religion?
They are mixed, but they're Muslim, I think, for the most part.
So what about the Zionists? I know they're mixed too, but what are they predominantly?
The Zionists are primarily European whites.
European whites. Oh, okay. So they're not even okay.
They're not a religious. They're not a religious group.
Well, they have religious They have religious, I guess, inscriptions, but it's based on the fallacy that we all were under the impression of prior to, gaining certain levels of knowledge.
What
For
do you
instance,
mean? Like, is it
that's why
is it?
that's why I brought up the point. When we think of Jews, we think of white men with curly, what is the
Well, do
little,
they do
The sideburns, yeah.
do they have a
yeah, the
Bible or
little
something?
curly sideburns and that walk. And well, here's another thing. When you think about Jews have um, one of the things Jews have going for them is that they are considered to be the people of God, uh, pertaining to the Bible. When we know that they can't be the people of God because they weren't the people that were described in the Bible as we know them today. So
Wait, how
then
you
you
know
look
that?
into,
How you know that, Phil?
There's an actual
because
description
I
of,
read the Bible.
yeah, in the Bible. There's
So
this.
what does the Bible say about it?
It
The
basically
Bible
describes a
says
black
many
man.
things about
Yeah,
it.
Huh?
It describes the lineage of what would be a Judaic person or Judean
The
person.
appearance you're
And
talking
Mhm.
about? What would the
exactly,
appearance be?
I just told you, a black person.
Like, but
Well,
there's black people come in different shades, different hair colors. I mean, hair
they were
textures.
very black. They were black unto the earth.
So they was
If
dark
you-
they were
skinned.
dark skinned, hair of sheep's wool.
yeah, there's
Okay,
scriptures.
so
There's entire stories when you talk about
Yeah,
some of the major stories in the Bible have to do with the description. There's no way to not know that the Bible is a book about black people. For those that
okay,
are
so
inclined to read it.
if the Bible is the Bible can't be a book about black people. It
You
could
have to read
have
it.
had when it originated, it could have been around. It originated with black people, but
Let
that
me give you
still
an
means
example.
it's inclusive of everybody.
Let me give you an example. No, it's really not. See, and that's one of the
What?
fallacies. That's one of the fallacies that we're under the impression of, that
Wait. I'm
if
not.
you don't,
I want
I
to
know,
wait. Let
I
me see
know.
if I understand you. You're
Uh-huh.
saying Christianity or the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, was really all about not
Certain lineage of
inclusion,
people, a
huh?
certain lineage of people that happen to be black.
Religion is crazy. It's crazy. So
Well,
forget everybody else. Basically, about that's what the Bible's saying. Screw everybody else. It's supposed to be the word of God, right? So screw all your other creations.
hey, Dave,
every
Dave,
group of
Dave. Let's.
understand
I
from the
want to.
point that, let me just say
What?
this, Rashad.
Oh, go ahead.
Just reporting what he was
every
taught. I'm just saying, if that's true, then that's crap. Not what
every
you feel, obviously.
no
If that's what you was taught or everybody was taught, then that's crap. If this supposed to be the word of a God who made everybody, but yet he got chosen favorites and shit, that's crazy.
well, if you look at it from the standpoint, every group of people is going to envision their creator as themselves or
Wow.
similar
Well,
to themselves.
ignorance is bliss, I guess.
Why?
Yeah.
I mean, no, it really makes sense. Why would I make my creator not look like me?
Well, you being a little self-centered there, a little egotistical, but not you're not trying to, but that's what can happen.
Well, in the time where travel isn't as available as it is now, and you live in a particular area for some amount of time, all the people you see look like you. So,
Which explains why they said they God looked human, made in his own image. Yeah. I get what you're saying, Phil, which that's just some crazy stuff.
It is, Dave. I just want to just interject. Let's try to. I know you're up in arms about the religion, but let's try to keep. We're really trying to talk about what's going on between Israel and Palestine.
It's hard. It's hard for me to see it that way. When they just mad at each other over their beliefs.
But that's not what's going on.
Well, yeah,
It's what's going on.
Can I give a really
on.
simplistic breakdown of what I think what y'all kind of were saying? From what I understand, like when you say the gentrification or whatever, it seems like there's a certain group of people, but other people want that land, so they coming in and basically moving all
Wait,
other
why they
people
want
out.
that land though?
I mean, for a multitude of different reasons,
Or the-
probably. But
What
yeah.
you know how small that land is? What they got all deposits in that motherfucker gold? No, it's all over religious beliefs because it's
Yeah,
supposed to be a
it
holy
could-
land.
It could, yeah, it could be predominantly for the religious
the
beliefs,
main
and they feel like it's the Holy Land and all that type of stuff. But I get what he's saying with the gentrification or whatever. It's like they one group of people. So what I want to understand is what group of people is the catalyst for trying to move the other group of people out. So who's at the top of the totem pole? Basically, is what I want to know.
Whoever got the power. That's
The
how it
world.
usually works.
So who right now has the power?
United
'Cause from
States,
what I
the
understand,
United States and England.
Okay, so from what I understand, I guess Hamas actually did like a covert attack on Israel, and that's what kind of
They ain't
started
got nothing to
over.
lose. Yeah.
True, they ain't got nothing to lose. Like how you saying it's like an open air prison, basically, where they had on the Gaza Strip. True. So who like beside? I know we basically like the hand that can kind of we playing chess with them. Basically, all these other nations. Like I think who's like supporting Hamas right now, Iran or somebody like that.
Anybody who don't like America for the most part.
True. So with them knowing that, who is predominantly the one that's taking over this area? Who do y'all foresee taking over this area? Do y'all just think it's gonna keep going on and on and on and on?
Oh yeah, it's cyclical. That's the term I was trying to say. Yes, it's gonna keep going on over and over.
I don't think so. Go ahead.
Yeah,
It's
the
been that way
problem-
for years, hundreds of
Well,
years.
Wars are won by one side or another. So, but if you look at the advantage, just from a logistical standpoint, you would have to say that if you got Israel, which has a military shit similar to America's, not maybe on scale, but as far as weaponry and advancement of weaponry in comparison to Hamas, Hamas doesn't have a jet fighter fleet. They don't have. Basically, they've got some missiles that they can launch from their side of the fence to the other side of the fence, and troops that are willing to go on the other side and blow themselves up at the expense. Israel has everything America has, plus America's funding, what Europe has, plus
Yeah.
some.
I want to say we give them $4 billion a year in funding.
Yeah,
So
plus some new laser technology called. Have you heard about this? Iron Rod or Iron Beam?
They have
It'll
Iron.
shoot down.
They have Iron Dome. We gave them Iron Dome.
Is that with the missiles and stuff like that, making the missiles go different
It's
ways?
basically a C-RAM type of.
right.
It uses lasers to intercept rockets and,
Rockets and stuff,
and
yeah.
basically shoot the rockets out of the air. You can go on YouTube and you can see videos of it actually in operation. So
I guess
So-
with Israel having all this backing, I mean, I'm assuming that most people will assume that Israel is basically going to dominate. Because when I look at the land, I'm like, the Gaza Strip is small compared to the rest of Israel.
it's tiny.
Even West
yeah.
Bank, even West Bank is bigger, but it's still compared to the rest of the country, it's a small area. So I'm not even like that would be like if you look at a wall over here, something like Houston trying to fight against the rest of the world or something. So what is the end goal for Hamas?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because it made me think like, why are they so invested? And listening to some of the leaders I've listened to over the last couple of weeks and years or whatever, it really made me think about things. But so for one, Israel was that choice, choosing that geographic location. It was elected. There were a number of other locations that they first thought to allow these
wasn't
Jews to
like
call.
Alaska one of they talk about moving them to?
I think Alaska or Antarctica, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
But also Kenya in Africa, they
Yeah.
thought about moving over there. And if you think about it, these particular Jews' actual homeland would be Western Europe, what we call Ukraine now, which when you have that understanding, you see, well, you can kind of piece together the Ukraine-Russian conflict being bigger, and it kind of weird how this is kicking up after that, but not really if you are able to draw those or put those pins and strings together. But oh, so yeah, I was thinking, like you said, what is the draw of this? And that does have a religious context. If you um, if you believe that what the Bible says, and I'm not saying that the Jews do because they really don't.
They don't. They. The only thing, the biggest difference between Christianity and Judaism is they don't really represent or show support for Jesus, but they still believe in the main parts of the Bible, so they should follow it.
Well,
their Torah is
not the New Testament. I'm talking about the Old Testament.
Their Torah
and
is the Old Testament. And
the Judaism Bible too.
And so there are prophecies in the Old Testament, and what Jesus is supposed to represent is the fulfillment of those prophecies. Jewish people don't believe that those prophecies have been fulfilled, so Jesus wasn't the second coming or the Son of Man.
They're actually more right than the Christians, because ain't none of that stuff came true. None of it. Not saying that they right like in general, but they got more sense than the way that Christians want to look at it.
Right. In order for them to do prophecies, they have to come true. So if you're called a prophet, then the validation or the validity of being called a prophet is it being accepted among that community that those things have come true. And you can talk about one of the things that the Jews themselves are trying to bring about so as to fulfill.
Froze up, Phil.
Yeah, he froze up.
I think he froze up. So I guess while he's froze up,
one of the things that they talk about as being fulfilled before the messenger returns, or the Messiah returns, the messenger, is the temple being rebuilt. So they've had a fund for years now where people donate money to Israel to have that temple rebuilt.
Wait, a Jewish temple or a Christian?
It's
a
temple. Jewish temple.
And so, so what it made me think of is, for people who don't fully believe in the prophecy in the way that it's written in its application to them as a people, because those that know, they know that they aren't of the bloodline, but they are they've taken on a religion, and by which they can call themselves Jewish or Jews. But the original Jews or Judeans was a entirely different people to which these scriptures and stories were about, and prophecies apply. That's why you have Revelation. There's a scripture in Revelations that talks about those that call themselves Jews are the synagogue of Satan. So in understanding that, in understanding why they would want to occupy this area, you might say it's formulaic, and that's why I said it was so simple, because you want to put yourself in a position that prevents the overturning of your power for those that believe that when the second coming happens, there is going to be a shift in power. Many people will perish.
They think, those people over there, they think that land is magical. Both sides, or not even. I'll say it like this: the Jews,
I don't think so much anymore,
the Islamic
though, Dave.
people.
I don't even think
I do. It is. What? It's not like it is in America with just capitalism. It's all about money. It's not like that. Some people or countries are still real passionate with their religious beliefs. And imagine this.
But Israel's not that country, though.
Huh?
It might have been that country at one point in time, But a lot of those the Jewish people over there are now that it's more of just a land grab. It's so
But then what? The
Exactly.
land got to have some value to it. What is the value of the
It's-
land? What kind of resources they got? It's a desert over there.
Land is land. It's not a desert. It's
I
actually
understand that.
it's not
Okay,
it's
besides
not like
just space.
wasteland, right? It's I think you're thinking it's wasteland. It's like a third world
No,
country.
no. I ain't saying it's waste. Let's say it's just bare land with no resources.
So
If they don't know how to expand out, or if that's a problem for them to expand, then maybe I can understand it.
So-
Because there's a lot of other countries surrounding them.
right now, say if you were if you were Jewish, Dave, and you had Jewish blood or whatever, you could just move to
There's
Israel.
no such thing as Jewish blood, but anyway, keep going.
Okay, well, if they recognize it, said you had blood, you could just pick up from America and just move to Israel, and
Okay.
Paid for.
and it'd be paid for. You know what I mean? And you would have a home that probably just belonged to a Palestinian like a week ago.
Yeah, but
but
why?
That they kicked
But
out over the weekend.
let's say if I'm a Jew, I can go anywhere on the planet, not just Israel.
Okay, but it's free.
So
It's paid for, Dave.
if that's the only incentive, that doesn't mean you need to fight for it like that, where people dying.
Okay, they're
I know you're making a point for just one example of why somebody might be taking that serious.
this is not
to
a
be
one
over
example. It's
But-
the
but people
example. It's
Yeah.
I don't.
they're not
But
going
that's
over
the-
there
That'll
because
literally be like,
I don't
if
wanna-
there. You mean
I
tell me people
identified
die
as
because somebody get a free deal to be over there? That's
Are
crazy.
your fingernails painted?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, my little
We were
girl
talking about
painted.
that earlier.
My 9-year-old painted my nail.
she did a good job.
I just think that you're dug in and you're on the whole religion thing, and it's religion is playing a part in it. It's how they're justifying it, but I don't think it's the
Sure.
reason that.
So, me and you had that conversation the other day about emotion being a strong force in the way a person thinks.
If someone
It
is
still
giving you
true to
free
this day.
land, that's not emotion. That's
No, I
It's
ain't
the
talking
same
about
thing.
what you're saying. You're trying to say maybe David is just about
I'm
they
not
trying to
saying
get the land.
I'm not saying
I'm saying
maybe.
I think it's the religious undertones, the religious elements is still
So-
like prevalent.
But so Jerusalem is under Israeli control already. So why would they be expanding into Palestine if they already have the Holy Land? If it's about the Holy Land, does that make sense?
It's not complete. They it's like it's still a struggle. It's like
No.
they haven't just changed the laws in Israel
Yeah.
if they
Yeah.
got power.
Yes. Israel is only for Israelis. Let me also, so in the 70s, we had a group of African Americans, if you want to call them that, who recognized that we were the people of the Bible that they spoke about, the Hebrews,
The Israelites.
the Israelites, and they moved to Israel. Last week, the white established Israel Jews gave them 24 hours to get the fuck out the country. And so a number of groups from the reports that I've seen have joined with the Palestinians and the Hamas to fight against the Jews.
So the South
Before
Africa
that,
Mandela
say this.
actually supported
Mhm.
I wouldn't say Hamas. Hamas wasn't a political party at the time, but the country of South Africa and Mandela, they actually were in support of the Palestinians.
yeah, PLO.
Yeah, because it's not that it's not that it's because of their religion. It's actually more like Phil was saying, more of them just being not white. They're being dark skinned and other. Like if you were to go over there, well, you're pretty light skinned, Dave, but if we were to go over there, we would be treated differently than the white Jewish population. No matter if we were Sammy Davis Jr., if we were black Jews, we would be treated differently. So
Wow, so it's some racism going on.
but it's weird. Once you kind of,
How is it? This would okay. I can't connect the dots here.
if I were to
How
tell
is it-
you that racism is not only an American thing, it's happening
Oh, it's
worldwide.
Well, yeah, I know that. but-
Brazil,
Mexico,
Mexico, like
Dominican Republic.
yep. Like
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you're Cuba, if you're dark skinned, you're treated differently than if you're a fair skinned individual.
Yeah.
But here's my thing,
Even
though.
in
If you're-
Korea, of all places, they have soap that they bleach their skin with so they can look whiter and more fair skinned. And they look down upon the darker Koreans because they
hold up though, hold up. This is my thing. If you're religious and you know there's a supposed to be one God who made everybody, why are you acting like somehow your God made you better than the other people?
okay.
That's just
once
boggles
again,
my mind.
Religion
Why
is
would somebody
stupid.
think like that?
I absolutely agree with you, but there comes a point when you have to realize that these people aren't really religious. They're just using as an excuse to treat people bad. Like the slave owners in America use
So they just
religion to
bad people.
to validate owning slaves.
So
Even-
they're just bad people.
They
You got millions of bad people in the people just want to be bad like that, and the cover up is we religious,
and they
is
use
why we doing
religion
it.
to validate it. That's what I'm saying. Like this is a land grab that's happening, and they're using religion to validate or at least at the core of it to validate the land grab, I should say. But it's just a land grab. It's just wanting more resources because natural. And I'm not talking about oil and titanium and shit like that. Just land. Land is a resource.
That's a direct representative of pure ignorance. Those are the same people fighting each other. Much like how black folks,
But they're not
They're
the
not
same
the
people.
groups fight each other.
They're not the same people.
They live in that area. They the same people.
that's like
have the
if your
same
ass went to
lineage.
copper.
Hold up. They don't have the same lineage.
No, you keep talking about foolishness we've already explained, and we ain't getting nowhere,
Oh,
man.
they have the same lineage, Phil.
No, they don't.
They do not.
They don't.
Where they come from, Phil? They migrated there.
I told you that they're white Europeans. In 1948, they immigrated from Europe. The Zionist movement started in Britain, in Europe, and after
Russians, Polish, Germans.
right, West
Oh, okay.
Europeans.
I think that's where we misunderstand each other. I don't mean like recently, like some, let's say Caucasians came to live there. I'm talking about human beings. They the same people. Humans.
So yeah,
They're
they're
all
humans.
humans.
Yes.
It's like, I don't understand
They're
how
all
you
humans,
still
but
want
they're
to
different
see,
people.
huh?
They're all
Which-
humans, but they're different people.
I'm
If that's
talking
what-
about
if
the
that's-
fact that they're just
If
human.
that's your point,
living,
I
trying to
agree.
enjoy.
They're all humans, but they are different
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, I wouldn't make the point of. I'm not trying to make the distinctions between what you would call an ethnic group or like black or white, because if you even want to make that, if that's an issue, black or white, then that's also ignorance. It shouldn't be about black or white. So whatever they fighting over, I'm trying to figure out what's the real deal. Oscar said it's just who was that said it? It's just land. I think it was you, Shard. Land, and it's that bad? You fighting over land like that?
I mean,
2023.
we're doing the same thing here in America.
Nah, we ain't
Yeah,
going
we
to
are.
war with each other. Stop trying to like move the goalposts. We ain't going to war with each other in America.
No, we're not.
It's no
but
civil war.
We're not going to war with each other, but I look at it like it's
That's
almost like how we
because
have
one side be
Democrats
fighting.
and Republicans here. If you stand around a Republican and a Democrat, they almost go to war with each other because they believe in their beliefs so deeply.
But
It's the same way everywhere you go. So them fighting over land to me is no different than that. I mean, it's different because they're
It is
so
a
violent
difference.
with it.
people are dying. Have you seen the
Who?
carnage?
Yes,
people
I
dying,
literally just
kids,
said. I
women.
literally just said the only difference is they're being more violent. If I left you alone with a Republican and I left a Democrat alone long enough, and I put them in a place where they didn't really have no rules, they'll start fighting and killing each other.
Nah, I doubt that.
If I put them over in the country and said, "Hey, y'all, Democrats stay here, Republicans stay here," watch how they'll start coming into each other. It'll be a war over there too. It's just that here we got a little bit better rules and understanding that hey, we're not gonna kill you. We can be more democratic. I mean, more have more of a democracy with it or whatever. But you leave them alone long enough. Why you think we had a civil war?
So
Like
They say
we're
that
just a little bit more
politics-
civil right now with it, but
Yeah.
it's the same. It's the same premise
The only
behind
thing
all
that
of it.
matters. We
Yeah, but we literally did all the stuff that they did. But now we're just a little bit more civil with it now. We had
Throughout
a civil
history,
war.
people done done that.
Exactly.
So the only difference is that we're more civil, we're more logical. Those people over there ain't, which is why they go to war, which is crazy. They need to be more civil with each other.
Okay.
You know?
I would agree.
Like,
Go ahead, finish, Phil.
no, I mean, I'm just for you to make that assertion that they aren't as civil because they're fighting for what they believe, they're fighting for their heritage, what all they've known. It's a I don't know what to call it.
Wait, hold on. So do you support Confederate people fighting for their Confederate belief system? Do you support white folks for fighting for their Confederate belief system?
Anybody fighting for anything they believe in, because that's what people do. You fight for what you believe in. So I understand that. But what we can do as looking at a world audience is say, while there may be two sides to a story, one of these people ain't playing fair. One of these sides ain't right. And that's what's being established here.
That's true.
The land that is being taken, and I made the I don't know, the analogy that it was like gentrification, but maybe not as, like Oscar said, it isn't as a violent scale, but there's still bloodshed. When you talk about people losing their homes in a certain way due to the economics here, police enforcing or having a presence in a certain area so as to remove the element of that particular area. You look at our neighborhood now; it's not even called Carverdale, right? It doesn't even look like.
Wait, it's not called Carverdale no more?
Nah.
I don't even know what it's called.
Yeah, you go drive right off of Gessner and see.
Isn't it like Spring Branches? Or is it
got a plaque up there now, like one of those little welcome to your neighborhood plaque things?
Spring Branch or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it has that, as soon as you drive through there, it has something like that where it says Spring Branch or something. I forget if it's Spring Branch or Northwest or something like that.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah. I do have this quick question though, man. So if y'all had to pick, who would y'all say is in the wrong in this situation?
Israel, of course.
Why are they wrong?
Because they are not the original inhabitants of that land.
Oh, okay. I see.
And the land was stolen from them.
Who are they wrong? Who are they wrong to? Like, so Israel, the Palestinians. Okay.
So hold on. Let me ask Shaw this question. Shaw,
go ahead.
Okay, so why can't they get along, Shaw?
You have one side that's doing overreach, and you have one side that's basically committing not just war crimes, because it wasn't even a war. It's just they're violating international law.
But wait, specifically though, what do they want?
Land
to for them to do all this other stuff they doing? What do one side want? Because you always want something.
They're expanding their country.
Okay, so they want more land, and they willing to kill people for it.
I mean, we did the same thing here.
Okay.
Manifest Destiny was literally us slaughtering peoples as we expanded our country from the Atlantic to the Pacific.
Is their land overpopulated right now? Like, because U.S. ain't even close to being overpopulated. But is their land overpopulated, which would justify them to want to expand?
I mean, there's no justification for expanding your country into another country.
But I'm asking you, forcefully. Is it overpopulated? Because then it wouldn't be a reason for them to be taking the land.
I don't know, but that doesn't make it right.
Of course, it don't. Yeah, it don't make it right. So now what I'm getting is they just taking land just to fucking take the land. So they mad for a reason. It can't just be just to take the land. So what is the other reason why they're just mad? Because you can't just be a mean person. You always have a motive and a goal for why you're mean and mad.
So, once again, I'll bring up Manifest Destiny.
Why do white people not like black people?
Yeah.
I don't know. Why do black people don't like white people?
But
I think
I will bring up. You remember learning about Manifest Destiny, right?
Yeah.
That
Vaguely.
I mean, it's really important to what
been a
happened
while.
to America. So not only we like you said in America, there's plenty of land in America. It wasn't that America was overpopulated. There was a creed basically said it is the destiny of America to be from sea to shining sea, and we took over that land just because we thought it was our right to. Because we decreed it.
So everything falls back on just stupidity. Like I said earlier in the beginning of this whole podcast. Wow, man. Grown ass people just being stupid.
So what I want to kind of lead us into, now we talked a little bit about the basics, even though we kind of veered off. But what is the appropriate response from both sides to whatever's been happening?
That's what I was trying to
Diplomacy. It's just that simple. Ceasefire and diplomacy.
Okay.
I would agree with that. See if you can have a sit down and write down the things that you want the most, and they write down what they want the most, and see if we can come to an agreement.
Let me ask y'all this.
Understand it's gonna have to be a compromise. You're not gonna get everything you want.
For those that believe that if somebody came into your house, smacked your mama around, bent your little sister over, and said, "I'm moving upstairs. Deal with it."
Going to war. You're gonna go to war.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. What were we talking about?
Yeah.
And see
that what we were just talking about. What the solution is ceasefire and diplomacy.
Well,
so
how is that a solution when I just gave a microcosm of what's happening there? And
you just gave an example, Phil. That's because somebody who just want to do what he want to do, then he's the one that's wrong. You can't just do what you want to do.
Fix it.
They're going to war because they're doing what they're infringing upon another people, the original people's rights and liberties. So these people are saying, give me liberty or give me death. Right? Mm-hmm. So it's not, I mean, it's no confusion as to why. Now you might say, why would you fight when you're so heavily outnumbered and overarmed, underarmed? Well, what else is there to fight for what else is there to live for if I can't protect the ones that I love? Right. I would rather die. I would rather not be here than to be subjected to another person's will. And so that's what I think that's the most attractive thing as an American. So from my understanding, that's what they preach. So that's not a foreign concept. But when we look at other people fighting for their liberation, it's, hey, y'all should stop fighting and just figure out some way to amicably live.
Hold on.
So who invading who again? I want to get a clear understanding. Who evading who? Invading who or whatever in that war? Because one have to invade the other. They're not meeting in the middle.
What I understand is the Hamas, they don't like the situation that they're in, so they're fighting back.
Okay.
So they're fighting back against Israel.
So
Israel started to fight.
Yes.
You said they're fighting back.
Okay. So if you look at the totality of the whole situation between the two of them, right?
So why is Israel even picking a fight when they got everything kosher over there with all the backing of the European countries?
They don't like black people.
Okay.
That man sound like Kanye West right there.
And George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Why don't those? I guess the people who ain't white over there why can't they deal with the land that they got and all that other stuff? Or is Israel trying to take their land?
You already alluded to it. So right now what we're seeing is most people in America are seeing from whatever day that was in October that terrorist attack from now here. Like they get a microcosm of the totality of the conflict between them two. But if you use Phil's analogy of someone moved into your house And then not only did they move into your house, they smacked your mom around, and they put you in the corner, and then told you to, hey, we can negotiate with you sitting in the corner, and you gonna like it. Like, you could just chill in the corner and live a peaceful life, or you could try to get your house back.
But that's the first play in the playbook of any other force trying to take over another force. So that's common. That's a normal thing. One group of people trying to override another group of people or dominate or whatever.
But there's a rub to this situation. Israel is a member state of the United Nations. That is it's against the UN doctrine or UN law to do what they're doing. It's against the law.
Wait, for Israel to do what they're doing, or
for
Hamas?
Israel to do what they're doing.
Israel doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Also, if you go to war with one UN country, you go to war with all UN countries.
So why is the U.S. backing?
Because they're a member of the UN.
The Israel.
So that's all right. So
people,
we talked about this the other day, Shad.
All right. So
I pretty much know the answer, but it's like
so U.S. relations with the Arab world is strange, right? You can't say, hey, we don't like Arabs because they don't like Christians, because guess what? We're buddy with Saudi Arabia. And I would like to point out that like 11 of the hijackers from 9/11 were Saudi Arabian, but we're still buddy with them, right? We used to be buddy with Iran, who's our big bad enemy now. But until Iran had a free and fair election and decided to socialize their resources and their oil, and we tried to overthrow their election and install an American puppet, that's when our relations with Iran kind of went south. So there's all these Muslim or Arab countries that we're not friends with is basically because the world's supply of oil kind of runs through that region, and we need to have presence over there. So whatever happened in the 70s where the oil skyrocketed in prices, basically. We
like dividing.
Was it the Iraq, Israel, Egypt war or something like that? So basically, we need military presence over there to keep the world's resources flowing. And Israel,
and also
colonialism, basically,
to know what's going on.
And Israel would be that basically American insertion point in between Syria, in between Jordan, in between Egypt,
Africa,
and into Africa.
The U.S. like to know what everybody is doing. It's a good strategic military reason for that.
But in the meantime, you make enemies when you do that.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
How many
the bigger picture is a benefit.
Arab terrorists did you have in the 1800s?
Probably none.
Yeah, like it just wasn't a thing until we kind of started going over there and imposing.
We don't like intercontinental ballistic missiles, especially missiles that come from outer space orbit. We don't like either one of those two things, so we like to stay in everybody's business, and I support that.
Okay.
Unless you want to see an A-bomb or a hydrogen bomb hitting El Paso, I think it's a good thing that we in everybody's business.
Oh, but why would someone bomb us?
What? Sure, really? You asked that question?
Yeah, it's a valid question.
We are a capitalist nation. It's a billion reasons why people want to bomb us.
Give me the number one reason.
Because we want everybody's shit. We want everybody's shit. And we want it as cheap as we can get it.
And you believe that is a policy worth making everybody else second-class citizens?
I ain't saying nothing about that. That's like
you said you support the idea of America staying in everybody's business.
Yes.
And we know that we stay in everybody's business so that we have access to our interests. And our interest is convenience of resources, right? So it kind of feeds into that.
Wait, well, how they got to do? What they got to do with second-class citizens? America, you don't have
if you're a capitalistic society, then you have to have somebody to capitalize on.
Oh, you trying to say we look down on the people we feed from? No, that's not what I'm saying. And I don't think
you don't have to say that.
We got a hand in just about every country's pockets. We ain't trying to like disrespect them while we doing it. 'Cause that's bad business. Bad business.
I'll go to that, man.
I mean, Dave, you heard of the global North and global South, right?
All
right, so
the global South.
Right. So what's basically feeding our capitalist society is us propping up manufacturing places in poor countries, which typically happen to be the global South. And so as long as we can pay someone 10 cents, instead of paying someone a minimum wage or an actual living wage, it might be a living wage where they are, but like there's a reason, like I'm going kind of on a tangent on this, but
no, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a reason why we would like for these countries to stay poor. We can manufacture stuff, ship it from there at a fraction of the cost, as opposed to building factories here in America and having to actually, take care of your employees and stuff.
But also, if that's also there's a hidden agenda that is actually beneficial to our country, like strategically, if we do that, if we actually get into the inner workings of other countries, do deals with them, have them, like, let's say, pay them what we willing to pay them, and if they accept the deal, it helps keep us strong and protected from crazy countries out there who like to just take over.
Or it creates enemies that want to bomb.
It's just that's the nature of the beast. It's gonna always be that way.
We can't protect ourselves from ourselves. I'm sure you're all aware of what just happened in Maine by a so-called patriot.
Right.
And you can say, deranged, psychological, unadapted individual or what have you. But the fact remains, man, when you do certain things, that they have repercussions. And just because it's good for you in one instance, you look at France now and ECOWAS, or the Western region of Africa. France is about to become a third world country, with their not being able to subjugate or colonize these West African countries any longer. But they have their hands in so many of these countries. I think it's like 14 of them, 14 Francophone countries anyways, that were once colonized by France. So much to where these countries are about to start fighting themselves, fighting amongst each other's brothers, fighting amongst each other's for a country that was pimping them.
Yep.
Which really doesn't make sense in the best interest of these countries, providing the infrastructure and building themselves up with their own leadership and their own values and their own cultures, and taking advantage of their own resources so as to enrich themselves in every aspect of life. But it being what it is, that's the same thing I think with these Arab countries. Maybe not this particular instance. Like I said, I think it's really simple, and formulaic, where certain people act the way a certain people act, out of greed and scarcity, or the fear of scarcity. And I think it's incumbent of all of us as people to look at it for what it is, to be informed about it, to the extent that we can simplify and explain it to somebody who may not be as informed, to suggest that, hey, no, this is wrong. Let's address this behavior. I don't know. Did we say this the other day? The only way that evil prevails is for a good man to be quiet or not saying something like that.
For a good man.
And that makes sense.
That's what it is. That's what's going on in the world now, in this particular situation, where we want to say, oh, that's over there. That doesn't have anything to do with us. But yet and still, we have, like I said, African Americans who have been there for 30, 40 years, if not longer, 70s. Yeah, about 50 years then.
Well, Phil, what if I said, if those are Africans, we would, like how you say the original people, if they're Africans, that's not actually the continent of Africa. And Africa is a big
That's
continent.
another fallacy.
But why can't they just go to Africa where, you got all that land over there?
So first off, the Middle East is a new term, relatively speaking.
I mean, even the word Africa is Roman. It's from a Roman general, Africanus. It wasn't even called Africa by the natives.
No. But if we look at it, all right, so from the perspective of what we consider the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, South Saudi Arabia, Yemen, the Giza. For the longest, they didn't even want to say Egypt was in Africa when we know it's northeast Africa.
Yeah.
That area that we now commonly accept as Africa or as the Middle East is actually just a further northeastern point of Africa. It's still
that's some actual knowledge you're kicking right there, because anywhere where there's a desert like land is generally hot, and if it's hot, the sun is beaming, and if the sun is beaming on the skin, you will develop melanin. So I'm in agreement. They all black folks in the Middle East for the most part. So, but my thing is, that's a lot of land. If it's all like entitled, I guess the way you see it entitled for it's land for black folks. They can go anywhere in the Middle East. Why they gotta fight in that one little area?
Why should they have to go anywhere?
But it's so big over there.
But if it's the land that you've known, it's the land that you live off of. It's the
why do we put Native Americans on reservations?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. I have a question.
That's just greed right there.
Who do y'all think the U.S. should be backing up then? Who do y'all think they should be supporting? I know we were part of the UN and everything.
The one that got out, the one that benefits us the most. So whoever that is.
I think that it's hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube. So I don't think Palestine is going to get their land back, but I don't think Israel should be expanding into Palestine. And I think that they don't need to have an open air prison that is the Gaza Strip. There needs to be both sides need to abide by international law. No more acts of terrorism, but that goes for both sides.
Or it could be a united union.
Because Israel has been killing thousands of Palestinians over the last 15 years. And no matter how, it reminds me of the Kaepernick situation in America, to where all he did was kneel for the flag and people were trying to tell him how to protest. Well, the Palestinians have tried to peacefully protest. They were shot. Kids were shot, sniped by the IDF.
Hold on, Phil. I mean, Shaw, is the Palestinians Christians?
No.
What are they?
They're Muslim.
Oh. Yeah, okay. It makes sense why they fighting each other now. Like I was saying earlier. But anyways, it ain't gonna ever change as long as they Muslim. One is Muslim, one is Christian, and then you got the Jews.
I don't think that's
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a religious span ethnicity, so they aren't necessarily all.
There's some Muslim Israelis also.
Yeah,
they're Israeli citizens, but they're Muslim. Like it's
right.
Even though
Jews aren't Christian,
Yeah.
So
even though Israel is an ethno state, like that's their official religion for their country is Judaism.
Mhm.
Wait. Israel, but ain't Israel supposed to be a where Jerusalem is where Jesus is supposed to be supposedly have born, right? Was born, right?
Jesus is supposedly born in Bethlehem.
Bethlehem.
Where is that? I don't know. I'm asking y'all.
Bethlehem is supposedly in the. So these are all the fallacies that that come into play when you study these things. What we commonly know as, understanding of the Bible, what we were taught, when you actually read it and do the scholarship of it, so many of these things come. So I'll just skip to it. The oldest Bible on hand that we have is the Ethiopian Bible. This Ethiopian Bible has some 88 books in it, as opposed to the Bible with what we're familiar with and what we were taught from the King James Bible, which has about 66 books or something like that. So you're talking about 22 books that we never even see. You may have heard of the Apocrypha, you may have heard of the Maccabees, you may have heard of Jubilees. These are all different.
I just looked it up. Bethlehem is in Israel.
Yeah, it's south.
Yeah.
Why you didn't
of
just say that?
Jerusalem.
Well,
So that's supposed to be.
Based off what the Bible says, yes, it's supposed to. Bethlehem is supposed to be where the Holy Land is, pretty close.
Is in Israel.
No, Jerusalem
So-
is. But
But
I
it's
think.
like, what, a few miles away
Jerusalem
from it or
is-
something?
But once again, I think
Based off what the
you're
Bible
being
says.
hung up on religion, and you're saying
I'm telling
they're-
y'all.
they're religious, and therefore they're going to keep fighting.
Yes, they will keep fighting.
But they're not fighting
Have
over
you heard
religion, though.
Have you heard Marjorie Taylor Greene lately? She's an outspoken MAGA Republican. She straight up say, we keep all the Muslims out of the government. Straight up say that.
I understand. I understand what
Religion
you're
means
saying.
a lot to some people.
I understand what you're saying. But what I'm saying is you're just kind of whitewashing it, saying, they're religious. They're just going to keep fighting, and just leaving it at that when they're doing a land grab, which is illegal. They're not trying to convert people because they're Muslim. You know what I mean?
Yes, what?
Hey,
All right.
put yourself on mute.
All right. Hey, we need to wrap this up anyway, guys.
Yes.
We're about an hour.
This
and a
was
half.
interesting. This was interesting to me, man. It was very informative to me because I had questions, and I mean, I appreciate y'all for
My
dishing
bad.
out that
y'all.
knowledge like that.
My bad.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do final thoughts. Final, if you go ahead and say something. Try to keep it around about 2 minutes, and then we're gonna go ahead and end this episode, guys. I appreciate everything.
I appreciate you bringing the topic to discussion, because I feel like there's a lot of us who, including myself up until a couple years ago, who didn't understand anything about the subject. And I think a lot of times in not understanding, we just accept the narrative that we have been given. And I think historically for us as people, that's dangerous. So anytime we can, have some enlightenment onto what is being presented for us to believe, to actually have be able to have a discussion to examine what is actual, it's important.
Anybody else?
You can go, Austin.
Oh, okay. I'm just gonna kind of recap what I've learned, because some of this stuff I assumed it, but I didn't know for sure. So I must make sure this is correct. Israel, I guess, is a predominantly Jewish country, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Israel is a predominantly Jewish country. They're part of the UN. They have backing by the rest of the United Nations countries. They're basically moving into other people's houses and putting the Hamas in open air prisons and stuff like that. And then when those people retaliate, they want the support from Israel wants the support from the world, because they're basically putting people in prisons and taking over their land. And so kind of like what we did to the Indians or whatnot. So I'm kind of, in my mind, I'm kind of like conflicted. I'm like, man, that's crazy. Kind of like,
Wait.
Phil, you made a good point. Somebody walk into your house and slap your mama. How you gonna respond? Do you want to be
That's
diplomatic now,
Let him
or do
finish,
you
Dave.
want to be, you know, how do you want to respond to this? So it's just the whole everything that's going on over there is interesting to me because I'm just kind of like, to be able to do that to somebody and then you get the support from the rest of the world is crazy to me because that would be, you know, literally like what you said, Phil. If I walk into your house and slap your mama, and then the rest of everybody on the outside of the house, like, Oscar, you was right for that. David, I mean, you know, whoever's house I walked in and slapped their mama would be like, oh, he tripping. He should have let you slap his mom and been cool with it.
Yeah.
That whole concept to me is crazy to me. And then you want to talk about it after I slapped your mom. It's like, I don't know, man. That's just my whole take from the situation. So,
All right,
well,
now
let
you can go, Dave.
me speak on.
Mhm.
That's literally what happens since the beginning of time. It's always somebody who just want to take and dominate. Okay, there's no reasoning, and usually the one who want to take and dominate, if it's not a logical reason behind it, he is the one that's wrong, he or she or whoever. So if Israel is just trying to take land just to take land, is what I'm getting from all y'all, the way y'all talking, then of course they wrong. And I have a question, like, why if all these countries are supporting Israel because of Christianity, I'm always understand it that way. The U.S. And every other English-speaking country don't have really no stake in Israel, other than the fact that it's you know, it has to do with Christianity, and it's a lot of Christians around the world or whatever. And of course, it's in the Middle East, so that's another additional benefit for the U.S. to just keep tabs on people. But they are not really trying to control Israel or sanction, which is what they can do. They can definitely sanction Israel and tell them to stop trying to expand land to, you know, hurt the other people in that surrounding area. They can easily do that, but they're not. I don't know why. We didn't talk about that. I don't know why they can't. None of these countries who's basically supporting Israel could sanction them to tell them, hey man, y'all don't need to be doing that. It wouldn't be a war or whatever. So it's as usual. It's ignorance, in my opinion, of just a single individual who just want to see something a certain way with no logic that justify them to see it that way, and therefore they're gonna take what they see and want to believe and turn it into action, and then you got conflict. It's just the same story all the time, and we're gonna have a lot of topics about this, and it's gonna be the same basic recipe of just somebody stupid. And to me, I want to one day at some point I want us to have a subject about why people are stupid. You know, break that down into simplicity in simplest forms, so we could point out the stupid people and the shit that they do. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say.
All right, thank you, Dave. I'm gonna finish it off. A couple things. Like I said, we give Israel billions of dollars in aid and military support and weapons every year. So as taxpayers, which we all are, we are funding whatever they're doing over there. We are a part
stupidity.
of that. Two, I would like to say that I do not condone terrorist acts that the government of Hamas did. I don't think that killing innocents and killing civilians and killing babies is a way to get what you need. But then I've never been in that situation to where I've been trapped and to where I'm not getting food and I'm not getting fresh water. So I don't know how I would act or if I would join in that. I'm armchair quarterbacking, and that's just, I think there should be another way. But in the meantime, Israel shouldn't be killing innocents and civilians either. The West Bank there is no Hamas on the West Bank. Hamas is only in the Gaza Strip, and they're still killing Palestinians by the thousands on the West Bank, the IDF soldiers. So we're this is what they call a quagmire that we're in. Like I said, I don't support the killing of innocents in either way. And I also like to point out that the Reflection Connection podcast, we are not anti-Semitic. We are, when we talk about Israel, we're not talking about the people. We are talking about the Israeli government.
Somebody who's being irrational. Inclusion is the best for the world.
Yeah.
And peace.
I don't hate Jewish religion any less than I hate any other religion. So, so I treat all religions equally. I think they're all silly. And
I got to dip, fellas. It's
all right.
been real.
Yeah, we're going to end it on that, man.
man.
We're going to end it on that. So thank you, everybody.
All
This has
right.
been the Reflection Connection podcast. We out. Deuces.
Yes, sir.
Yo.
Dude.